Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello and welcome to today's DNS session. We are going to have a discussion on today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition dated 13th October 2021. We shall pick up articles important for civil service examination and discuss them as per the demand of the exam. This is the lead article from page number 6. Do not breathe easy on the silicosis prevention policy. See, silicosis, as you would know, is a lungs disease caused mainly by inhalation of silica. Silica is a mineral of silicon found in various rocks, and hence this disease, silicosis, is very common among miners because they are most exposed to the silica dust. But silicosis is not exclusive for the miners. It is also found in the population not exposed directly to the silica dust, whether industrial or non-industrial. In that case, it can slowly build in the lungs and can take up to 20 years to show the symptom. The symptom of silicosis is quite similar to other pulmonary related disorder like tuberculosis. It involves shortness of breath, cough, fever, and bruises. In fact, the symptoms of silicosis is quite similar to that of tuberculosis. Recently, there has been a case where the Saharia tribes in the state of Madhya Pradesh were being diagnosed for silicosis. Although the test results were negative for silicosis, there was an appeal from the tribal community to diagnose them for tuberculosis rather. Diagnosis of silicosis rather is difficult for the reason that the symptoms are quite similar to other pulmonary related disorder and it builds very slowly. But once a person gets silicosis, it is incurable. It will cause permanent disability. So the best way out is prevention because the cure does not exist. The reason why silicosis develops without getting noticed because silica is odorless. It is non-irritant and it does not cause any immediate health effects because, as you understand, the pores in the lungs are too many, and if some of them start getting blocked, you will not feel the effect unless too many of them gets blocked. And once too many of them gets blocked, there is no return from there. In India, silicosis is recognized as an occupational disease under various legislations like Factories Act, Employees Compensation Act, and recognition of silicosis as occupational disease under these legislation mandate the employers to pay compensation to workers who get affected by the disease. Government of India and some state government have taken various measures to deal with the problem of silicosis. For instance, silicosis is a notified disease under Mines Act 1952, also under Factories Act 1948. There are provisions under the Factories Act 1948 for ventilated working environment, protection from dust, reduction of overcrowding, and provision of basic occupational health care. In 2020, Government of India came up with Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, and Section 12 of this code mandates that silicosis cases that has been diagnosed has to be notified by mines owners or by the examining doctors to the Directorate General of Mine Safety. Remember for your prelims examination that Directorate General of Mine Safety works under Ministry of Labour and Employment. Directorate General of Mine Safety is the sole enforcement authority for health and safety in mines. The state government of Rajasthan, the state which accounts for 17% of mineral production in our country, was the first to notify silicosis as an epidemic in 2015. And this the state government can do under the State Epidemic Disease Act. Rajasthan government also has announced a pneumoconiosis policy. Rajasthan is the second state after Haryana to have such a policy. Rajasthan state government also came up with a silicosis portal, and this was set up using District Mineral Foundation Trust funds. District Mineral Foundation Trust has been set up under Mines and Minerals Development Regulation Act that was amended in 2015. As per the provision of this act, in every district related with mine-related operations, the state government shall be notifying the establishment of a trust as a non-profit body to be called as District Mineral Foundation. To this fund, the mining companies have to contribute certain amount that will be set up by the state government. The contribution can be from 10 to 30% of their royalty amount that they pay to the government. The idea behind this trust is justice. One of the idea of justice is that benefit and burden must be shared equally. In case of mining, the local population bear the burden of mining operations. They have to live locally in the polluted environment, but the benefit goes to the mining companies. And hence, there is an equal sharing of benefit and burden. To equalize that, the mining companies must contribute to the District Mineral Foundation Trust, and the fund of this trust should be used for the welfare of local population. Using the fund of District Mineral Foundation Trust, Ministry of Mines has come up with a scheme known as Pradhan Mantri 𝐑𝐞𝐿 Yojana. The scheme is basically for the welfare of people affected by the mining operations. The Labour Code, officially called as the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020, Section 6 of this code has made it mandatory for all employers to provide for annual health checks free of cost to such employees of such age or such class of employees of establishment or such class of establishment as prescribed by the government. There's a draft central rule corresponding to Section 6 of the code, and it fixes an age floor of 45 years for workers in all establishments, including mines, to be eligible for these mandatory annual free health checkups. If you look at this draft provision of upper ceiling of 45 years in tandem with other provisions, you will realize that it's not going to help the cause of preventing silicosis. Section 20 of the code provides for power to DGMS, Directorate General of Mines and Safety, to conduct health and occupational surveys in mines. But the Workmen Compensation Act that has been subsumed by this code provided for rehabilitation in terms of some alternative employment in the mines that is safer, or payment of a disability allowance, a lump sum compensation to the workers who were found medically unfit. But these provisions of Workmen's Compensation Act are missing in the new Labour Code. So if the state government by itself, for example, Rajasthan state government gives a compensation of around rupees 3 lakh, then the workers who have got disabled due to silicosis might have some respite. And in absence of that, they'll be left to fend for themselves. Now I'm going to introduce a structure to you, a general structure that you can apply to various topics concerning governance. See, for any governance related issue, the first and foremost thing that you look into is the policy. If there is policy on that particular issue, you must highlight that. If there is none, then you must give it as suggestion that there must be a policy on this concerned issue. From policy emanates legislation. Policy is the lighthouse that gives direction to laws and initiatives and schemes of government. Depending upon the provision of legislation, there is requirement of some institutional capacity. So either a new body has to be formed or institutional capacity of existing bodies have to be beefed up. The new institution or the revamped previous institutions have to run the administration. Administration is the interface of people and government. It is the face of the government that is visible to people. The vision of the policy, the provision of legislation are implemented by the institution by general administrative work. The successful administration in any concerned sector requires infrastructure support. And over and above these arrangements, success of anything in the field of governance requires people's support, people's cooperation, people's participation, people's behavior decides success or failure of any governance related initiative. And in general, you must look as to how technology can come in aid to the process of governance. That makes governance initiative leads to good and ethical governance. That is the final implementing help in the process of governance, and that completes the circle. So what's began in terms of vision is finally done with efficiency. You can make changes to this general structure that I'm giving and form your own structure for governance related answer writing. But in the beginning, if you follow this, that will be a good starting point, and later you will learn and discover and realize as to what changes you can do to it. So let's apply this general structure to the governance of silicosis. First thing first, is there a policy on silicosis or in general pneumoconiosis? Two states, Haryana and Rajasthan, have it. And other states in close coordination with Directorate General of Mine Safety must formulate the policy. Then you must look as to what are the legislations governing this. You know that there are many legislation concerning safety of mine workers and in general on silicosis, but their provisions have been subsumed into Organizational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. So there exists a code, a guideline. But the suggestion is that the state rules, which under the federal structure the states are entitled to form, under the Operational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code, must take care to ensure the health checks are provided to all workers in all establishments, irrespective of age. The draft rule of the central government suggests that this kind of compulsory mandatory health checkup must be done for workers under the age of 45 years. As we have talked about, to implement the vision of the policy and the provisions of legislation, institutions are created. Section 17 of the Labour Code provides for a state advisory board and technical committees. But unfortunately, many of the states have not formed them. With institutional capacity, you have to implement the vision of the policy and provisions of legislations, and that work is called as administration. You know about establishment of District Mineral Foundation Trust, but the Center for Science Studies have come up with the fact that the District Mineral Foundation Trust funds are underutilized and they are spent in ad hoc manner. You also know that using the fund in this trust, Pradhan Mantri 𝐑𝐞𝐿 has been launched for the welfare of people in mining affected areas. But success of these two will depend upon the fund in the District Mineral Foundation Trust. And the fund comes from mine owners. But if they are not registered, they will not pay to the fund. So what's important is the identification of mine owners, and it is estimated that only a small percentage, around 20% of them, have been registered with Directorate General of Mine Safety. If you have to talk about infrastructure to tackle silicosis, you can talk about health infrastructure. There is no arrangement as of today of dedicated team of doctors or dedicated schemes for examining silicosis periodically, mandatorily in the mine workers. Such team of doctors, maybe on mobile basis, must be created. If we have to fit this topic into the general structure that we have, and you can talk about people's behavior in this, concerning mostly the behavior of mine owners. The successful implementation of health-related schemes and the welfare of people in the mining affected area depends upon the fund in the District Mineral Foundation Trust. So to create a just society, they must come forward and register themselves with Directorate General of Mine Safety. There have been suggestions to incentivize manufacturers, preferably the local manufacturers, to invest and develop low-cost dust suppressant and wet drilling mechanisms that will reduce the dust particle in the air and hence can prevent the development of silicosis. This is what you must always try and do in any governance related topic that you come across that you make notes of. There is an article on page number 7, Boost Tourism Through Disruption. Let's have a general introduction on the tourism sector in India. Do you know India has been ranked third, just behind US and China, in World Travel and Tourism Council's Travel and Tourism Power Ranking. This ranking was given in 2019. In this ranking, the performance of countries from 2011 to 2017 has been taken into account. World Travel and Tourism has taken into account countries' performance in 4 sectors. Total contribution of the tourism industry to the GDP, the invisible export from the sector, domestic spending on the tourism industry, and the capital investment in the tourism sector. And in the 2019's ranking of World Economic Forum's Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Index, India has been ranked 34 overall. And out of 140 countries, India has been ranked 8th on cultural resources, 13th on price competitiveness, and 14th on natural resources. These rankings are exceedingly good. But the overall ranking of 34 represents something is lacking in the international marketing. As per the 2019 data, travel and tourism in India amounts for approximately 8.1% of total employment opportunities. The sector contributes 9.3% to GDP, and it has received 5.9% of total investment. This is exceedingly well. Tourism industry definitely is a sunrise industry in India. It has very high potential of ushering inclusive growth in India. The growth rate of the industry is very high, and the consequential development of infrastructure at the tourist destinations is also huge. With high growth rate, there is high chances of employment and trickle-down effect. And infrastructure development that the sector causes has multiplier effect in the economy. Travel and tourism sector is estimated to create 78 jobs per million rupees invested, compared to 45 jobs when the same amount is invested in the manufacturing sector. Like construction sector, tourism industry employs both skilled, semi-skilled or unskilled workers. What is even more regarding this industry is it generates women employment to higher degree compared to other industry. The working condition in this industry is also much better. The forward and backward linkages in the tourism industry is also very high. It promotes agriculture sector, food processing industry, manufacturing, transport, hospitality, education. It is promoter of health and banking industry as well. For inclusive growth, it's important that there is peace and tolerance in society. Tourism industry helps promote peace and stability in developing countries like India. There is a strong promotion of cross-cultural awareness. This helps even more when internal tourism is encouraged. Now let's do the same kind of analysis that we did for the previous topic. We will do that vis-a-vis government's initiative to boost tourism. Number one, is there a policy for tourism industry in India? The answer is yes. There is a national tourism policy that was formulated in 2002. And since 2017, Government of India is in the process of drafting a new policy and has come very close to release it. And how about legislations or schemes in the industry? Well, there are plethora of schemes that Government of India has come up vis-a-vis the tourism industry. Government of India has launched Incredible India, Swadesh Darshan scheme, Prasad scheme, Adopt a Heritage project, and so hence and so forth. The Incredible India 2.2, the Incredible India 2.0 campaign marks a major shift from the generic promotion being undertaken across the world to market specific promotional plans and content creation. This is important because we have previously discussed that India is somewhere lacking in the marketing for the tourism sector, and that's why a lower ranking in World Tourism Competitiveness Index. The structure that we have talked about before, you must look into as to what has been the effort for institutional capacity development in the sector. Online learning management system has been launched by the ministry for creating skilled manpower to work as tourist facilitators. In the tourism administration, a lot has been done actually. For example, Incredible India Tourist Facilitator Certification Portal has been opened. It is an online program where one can learn about tourism on their own. Successful completion of this program would enable the learner to become a certified tourist facilitator of Ministry of Tourism. On the administrative front, Government of India also has come up with facilitative visa regime, and that is extremely important for success of tourism sector in any country. Ministry of Tourism has taken lots of efforts in having a facilitative visa regime along with Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of External Affairs. There has been many initiatives to improve the infrastructure in the tourism industry and of important monuments. Ministry also has started Adopt a Heritage program. And the plan under this is to entrust heritage sites or any particular monument to private sector and public sector companies and also individuals for development of various tourist amenities in that particular tourist site. As we have talked about before, encouraging internal tourism is of great help. It not only brings socio-economic benefit that we have talked, it also brings internal peace and tolerance, promotes intercultural awareness. And the new draft tourism policy that we have been talking about is on the anvil. It is going to give emphasis on technology-enabled development in the tourism industry. See, I have given you some general points, but that is what is required in general studies paper. What's important here is the structure of your answer, and that fetch you marks. Now, just like we did in the last discussion, you have to extend this and tell me as to what further can be done. And that suggestion should also have certain structure. Better if you follow the same structure as the structure that we have followed so far in figuring out the initiatives of Government of India. If you have to give suggestions to further improve the industry, your suggestions must also be structured, and you can follow this very same structure in that as well. So please do this exercise on your own so that you learn structuring your answer and generating points. There is an article on page number 10, Government announces plastic waste recycling targets. The Environment Ministry has drafted new rules under waste management. The Environment Ministry has drafted new rules for plastic waste recycling. It's at the draft stage and it is expected that the new notification with new rules will come by December 6. So when it comes, that will be the right time to do it. But for now, you must be aware of the rules that have already been made. Well, plastic waste recycling has been discussed in great detail by Jatin sir very recently, the link to which I'll give you in the description section. But for a quick recap, you must know the amendments that has been made in the Plastic Waste Management Rules 2016. First of all, the manufacture, import, stocking, distribution, sale, use, everything of single-use plastic will be prohibited from 1st July 2022. The permitted thickness of plastic bags is being increased gradually. Presently, the manufacturation of thickness less than 50 micron is banned. But this thickness has been increased to 75 micron and has been planned to be increased to 120 micron by 31st December 2022. See, the thinner the plastic would be, there is higher chances of bioaccumulation. So the thicker, the better. The monitoring of these rules implementation will be done by Central Pollution Control Board with help of state pollution bodies. Central Pollution Control Board will have power to impose penalties in case of violation of the rules, and the power will be drawn from Environment Protection Act 1986. However, these rules are not applicable for compostable plastic. Compostable plastic, as the name suggests, are not made from petrochemicals and fossil fuels. They are rather derived from renewable materials like corn, potatoes, cellulose, soya proteins, lactic acids, and so on and so forth. Because they are derived from these biological materials, they are non-toxic. On decomposition, they give out carbon dioxide, water, and some biomass as remains. Now you have question for the day on your screen. The answer to yesterday's question of the day also appears on the screen. Speed test for today would be there on the ELEARN platform. You can go there and attempt the test. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Take care.